Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name's Dyl. We're back here in person, round 2 for the 2026
round 2.
Season.
Surprise! We didn't think we'd be able to do this a second time, but
you know, it's the power of work trips. They work to your favor sometimes. Sometimes they don't. Like, I haven't seen Minecraft yet, so sadly, like Chicken Jockey and supporting actor, Jack Black and lead, probably isn't happening today.
We can't talk about Chicken Jockey supporting actor.
It's a travesty.
And sadly, this is going to be probably the last in-person for a while. Next year, I'm going to be in New York City, so we're going to be able to record in person a little bit more. But today, we're going to be talking about our acting predictions. And why don't we just hop right in?
Yeah, so if you saw our last video, you know my motto for this year is to be a little bit different. You go to so many different videos, you see the same 5s, the same 10s across the board. Go back to last year at this point. You can go to Awards Expert, you can go to Gold Derby, look at the top 5 in any of these acting categories. Most people are getting 1 or 2 out of 5. They're not going 5 out of 5, so why don't I sprinkle in some more risks, some more big swings? Lead actress, I really don't have those for this category, but my number 1 is, I would say, a bigger swing, because I do have Jennifer Lawrence for Die My Love, and that's going with everything I said last episode, where if this movie hits hard, it's off the back of Lawrence. She's such an acclaimed actor from her peers, as well as the industry. Even if this movie is not a giant Best Picture player, she could be the sole representation for this film, assuming that 1, it's good, and 2, critics really go to bat for it, because that's really Die My Love's angle for the Oscars and for award season at large. We've seen Lynn Ramsey films. They have very pocketed groups of fans. Those fans usually aren't universal, so this is assuming that this film is a little bit more bigger because you have Lawrence, you have Robert Pattinson. This cast is a lot bigger than any cast she's had for a very long time, and I mean, she spent a lot of time making this movie. We know the type of actress Jennifer Lawrence is, so putting those two things together, taking a bigger swing here, it's something I'm willing to go to risk for at least, you know, a year in advance.
As much as I don't believe in Die My Love, I don't think Lynn Ramsey's ever going to make an Oscar movie. I don't think this is going to be anything for the Oscars. Admittedly, Jennifer Lawrence does have a bit of a shot here, and I have a lot of respect for the whole method of taking these big swings. I mean, at the end of the year, you're either right or you're wrong.
Exactly.
There's no degrees of right and wrong. You're either wrong and boring or you're wrong and exciting.
Exactly.
And I think it's better to be wrong and exciting. Take the big swings, because if they work out, that's so much cooler than just saying what everyone else is saying, and I mean, you're wrong anyways.
Exactly, because like, I don't have a lot of faith in Hamnet right now.
Yeah.
And Jessie Buckley is the odds-on favorite, at least looking at other people's videos, looking at Awards Expert, everything like that. So why swing and miss with something that I'm not really confident in? Why not swing and miss with something that not a lot of people out there are really projecting or predicting at this moment, where I can definitely see the angle happen for it? Because we can go back to like last year, where like I really want to put Cynthia Erivo for Wicked number 1. Yeah. I didn't. She didn't win, but she still got the nomination, where most people had her outside like the top 15.
Die My Love is likely to show up at Cannes, but it's not going to be in that announcement. It's not ready yet, but it will be ready it'll likely be ready for the festival. I mean, I would be very surprised if Die My Love is not at Cannes.
And
what would you need to see happen at Cannes for Die My Love to continue where it is in your predictions? Are you cool with it winning not the Palm, but like a jury prize, or just Best Actress?
Taking one of the bigger prizes at the festival. It could be a jury prize, it could be screenplay, or the Palm at the end of the day. I don't think I would still believe in it if they got one of those like special awards, where like the Fig type prize last year, where like they just want to award the movie, but they don't really have something to give it. If it got something like that, I would lose a lot of confidence. For the picture video, it's been about a week since we recorded that, so some thoughts have changed. You'll kind of see those reflected throughout this video. We've learned some new stuff as we're talking here. The Cannes lineup comes out tomorrow. The last time we recorded, CinemaCon started this very same day, and within a few minutes of us wrapping, we found out that the Matt Stone and Trey Parker movie dips to next year. The next day we found out that Michael probably isn't coming. But I guess staying with actress, my number 2 here is Tessa Thompson for Hedda. I feel like everything is really built upon this being her culmination to awards season. She's someone who really hasn't had that chance to really dive into a super deep dramatic role like this. We've seen her in a lot of blockbusters, some comedies, and we've seen her in some dramas, just never really in that leading role. Nia DaCosta is a filmmaker who, again, hasn't really played in this realm yet, but from what we have seen, she's usually the most interesting aspect of her films. You can say what you want about the Marvels. I feel like her creative lens behind the camera gave that film a little bit more extra pizzazz and style than some
That is
typical
true.
other MCU movies have. Candyman was a whole new reimagining of that franchise, and I really liked what she did there. So we're moving from thriller, we're moving from action now to a play adaptation. So it could not work, but it's something I'm willing to take that swing for. It's Orion, Amazon MGM. It's what I feel like they can really push this year. Plus, we just learned recently that this film is looking like it's slated for October. And Possibly. And what we've learned in the past is these Orion contenders that are slated for October, if they're real, they'll go to TIFF, they'll go to Telluride, the buzz is good, and then they'll come out in December.
So I need to hijack this from you for a second.
Ahead.
Because last time I made my case for Hedda, and I have had a complete 180. So I don't have Hedda in a single category anymore. Womp womp. Nothing. And I've kind of gone off the deep end with some conspiracy theories on this. And I gotta pitch this.
All right, let's hear it.
So I made a little something to really illustrate the point. Just hang on one moment.
Let's see what he pulls out here.
So
Oh gosh.
Here's my conspiracy board. This is explaining my whole theory at the moment.
Hey, look at this.
Hedda is Detta, in my opinion. Looking at Amazon MGM Studios, we know that they're going to have something in the race. They always do. Always. It always happens. And Amazon MGM, is it going to be After the Hunt? From Puka, Guadagnino? No, it's not going to be After the Hunt. We're throwing that out. Hedda, it's possible. I've been arguing for Hedda for quite some time. Orion seems to be doing really well. It's Plan B as well. Didi Gardner, Jeremy Kleiner are producing. But at CinemaCon, Amazon announced that they have 14 films releasing theatrically over the next 2 years. And they announced their list, which did not include Hedda. The October release date came from an interview with Nia DaCosta. Amazon has not said anything about Hedda, but you know what they did talk about? Preparation for a Next Life. They mentioned that Preparation for a Next Life is slated to be in theaters in 2025. And I dug more into this movie because it interested me. I wanted to know, what is Preparation for a Next Life? Because I don't believe in After the Hunt. It's directed by Bing Liu. Bing Liu previously directed the documentary Minding the Gap, Oscar nominated. What other Amazon MGM movie was the narrative debut of a documentary filmmaker nominated for an Oscar? Nickel Boys. That's right. It is about an undocumented Uyghur immigrant who moves to New York City. She's homeless, and she meets an Iraq war veteran, and the two of them fall in love. It is based on a book which won the Penn Faulkner Prize. The screenwriter is Martina Majok, who won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 2018. So really, really credible screenwriter. Also, worth noting, produced by who? Didi Gardner, Jeremy Kleiner, and Adele Ramonski and Barry Jenkins. The team behind Nickel Boys, Women Talking, Moonlight. So I started thinking, who's the main character in this movie? And the cast is full of unknowns. The description of this movie mentions that the main character's name is Aisha. But looking at the cast list, no one is playing a character named Aisha in this movie. No one. This cast list, everyone has names, except two people. Fred Heckinger, Hell of a Summer, Gladiator 2, bought me a milkshake once, very nice guy. He does not have a named character. The other person who did not have a named character on the cast list is this woman right here, Sabaya Betiar. From a little bit of digging, seems like she's going to be playing the main character of Aisha in this movie. And she has not been in anything before. Graduated from SCAD, literally 2024. The only IMDb credits are a bunch of student films and an acting showcase from the Savannah College of Art and Design. So, what does all this mean? We got a new Mikey Madison on our hands. This is what's happening right now. Dyl, you're talking about taking big swings. Yes. I found an actor who has not one goddamn credit, and I think she's about to be one of the biggest performers in the world. This movie seems primed to be huge. Didi Gardner, Jeremy Kleiner, Adele Ramonski are a dream team of producers. They have such a talent for finding filmmakers right on the verge of breaking out and being huge. Yeah. And this feels to me exactly the way I felt about Nickel Boys last year, the same way that I felt about Women Talking. And this might be absolutely insane. I created a conspiracy board. This is crazy. But if this happens at the end of the year, I'm gonna look really, really good. And if it doesn't happen, then this is just like a very silly moment for our end of year clip reel. But regardless, I'm taking a big swing. If I'm gonna be wrong, I'm gonna be wrong big. We don't even know if this actress is playing this character. So I'm sorry for hijacking, but put her on your list. And remember, I'm the one who added her to LETTERBOXD. I had to add her to LETTERBOXD to put her on my awards expert app so that I could predict her in here. It's fucking psychotic. I'm sorry, but I think this is happening.
Yeah, so like, as we said in the intro here, we want to take big swings. We want to be crazy. I thought I was being crazy with this random contained thriller, but you got it right here.
No. I'm padded room, like straight jacket. This is...
I mean, that's a thumbnail right there, is you holding that board. That's the point of these early predictions, because where's the fun in going in unison for Jessie Buckley or Julia Roberts? While I had them both getting nominated, I'm not as confident in their films. That can be from personal reasons, from hearing stuff. These two films have had word that the final product may not be as great as people want, contradicting reports that the trailer for After the Hunt was the biggest thing at CinemaCon this year. People compared to Conclave last year were saying, hey, we saw the trailer, this thing's for real, shoot to your predictions. And that's something that I kind of have to reckon with here, is because hearing the script from people who read it, not just yourself, but from more people as well, and just seeing the trajectory of Luca movies and Amazon movies, After the Hunt was something like, well, screenplay, maybe an acting, but I'm not huge on it. After hearing that CinemaCon report, is like, okay, gotta take this one for real now. Then Hamnet, even if this movie is a disaster, it sounds prime for a nomination for Jessie Buckley. We've seen her get in before for a film that wasn't super strong, so we have to really see what Focus does this year, because while they had their panel, it was mainly about Begonia, and Hamnet was just like, yeah, that's coming. Clearly, at least at this point, it doesn't look like they're super strong for, and that's another reason for your CinemaCon point about Hedda. But at the same time, in the past, Orion, Amazon MGM didn't mention American Fiction at this time, which I know wasn't a huge thing.
And that's true.
And then they also didn't mention Nickel Boys last year. Pick and choose with that type of thing.
But I don't know if they listed Nickel Boys last year, right? Like, the thing for me, it's not that they mentioned certain films, it's that they released a full slate, and Hedda isn't even on there.
Yeah. That is a little concerning for me to hear. I did move it down. It's still in my 10. It's just, I don't have to get as many nominations as before. And to round up my top 5, I do have Cynthia Erivo coming back for round 2 for Wicked for Good. I remember last year we were having this conversation leading up to nominations where I was saying, like, no, she's in from the moment we got those reactions from the movie. And I know that you were like, well, they can kind of do her next time around. We fall into this trap year after year. We fell into a Joker last year, and I'm sure we'll fall into it again in the future when we keep having sequels to Best Picture nominated movies that get acting nominations. The thing I really have to look at, and this applies to Wicked, this applies to Avatar, and this will apply to Dune Messiah next year, is in these franchises, typically if they become resistant, it's with movie number 2. It's not with movie 3 and onwards. Why we don't have the biggest gauge of that, because there hasn't been that many sequels. It's just something to pick up on, and this is movie number 2 for Wicked. So it's really, I feel like out there, if you're predicting, you kind of have to either go all in for Wicked for Good, or you have to be predicting like a Gladiator 2 type performance where it's like text and nothing really else.
But the difference for Wicked for Good, yes, it's a second movie, but it also is the emotional conclusion. It's not a middle chapter, which I think is the biggest thing against Dune 2, the biggest thing against Avatar: The Way of Water. It has no emotional resolution, whereas Wicked for Good is the end of the story. And when we think of those acting categories, when we think about Ariana Grande, she has more to do in this one than she had in the first one.
I agree.
When we think of Cynthia Erivo, she has no good deed. There's more that they're doing. There's an emotional conclusion. I don't think we can one-to-one compare Dune 2 to Wicked 2.
I completely agree. I was just more saying for other people who may be like doom posting the movie, that is a way to look at it, but I am very confident Wicked for Good at this moment. I think if Dune 2 had kept its release date in the Oppenheimer year, it probably would have got an additional slew of nominations.
It's true.
If it had came out in the prime award season, and Warner Brothers showed that they actually cared about award season last year, after Joker kind of came and went, their FYC really kind of went out the window, and that should have been their writing on the walls.
Joker and Dune's dates, Dune gets 3 more nominations. It just wasn't the movie of the moment anymore.
Exactly. It was a year old at that point, plus the whole, like, we've been there, we've done that, but we saw Dune 2 still had strength. It got in for stuff it got in last year, as well as ones that we weren't really expecting for it to repeat. So that's my 5. I have Lawrence, I have Thompson, Arrivo, Jesse Buckley, and Julia Roberts. So we know one of your 5. Where else do you really divert from this top 5 I have here?
Well, I've got a lot of the same ones. Obviously, I don't have Tessa Thompson. I don't have Jennifer Lawrence. I add in Bétiard, who is my number 1. I'm keeping Arrivo, Buckley, Roberts, but I'm going Renata Reinsve. And I know how you feel about sentimental value, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. I still think this is the big movie coming out of Cannes. We've been wrong about that in the past. This could be Triangle of Sadness, or it could be La Chimera, but I think it's Triangle of Sadness because of its ties to the movie industry, and even if it's not a big overall player, I think Renata Reinsve has had enough buzz in America. She's been in enough films that have been on the Academy's radar that even if the film isn't this huge sensation, she can really get in. But before we move to another category, I'm just looking at your number 6 here.
This is fun.
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney,
in
she's
the
coming.
Christy Martin biopic. Okay, I know we're taking big swings, but like, are you serious on this?
I think there is a definite angle for Sweeney in the event that this movie does come out this year, and also the event that this movie's at least somewhat good. I think that's the big roadblock here.
It's a big if.
It is a big if, but we've seen in the past these actresses that are newer into the scene that have the buzz, that have the acclaim maybe in other places in the past. Sweeney has gotten surprise nominations at the Emmys for Euphoria.
Yeah.
Coming out of that season, everyone was talking about Zendaya, they were talking about other people in the cast, but Sweeney's the one who got the major nomination. I think back to a few years ago when we had Blonde with Ana de Armas. While she wasn't a previous nominee on any other major awards bodies, she had enough industry cachet at that moment and people talking about her and driving them to that movie, where the movie may have been mixed overall, but the performance were strong enough, and people were like, well, she did her best and we really like her and we really want to see her continue to grow inside the industry. So if lead actress ends up being weaker this year, let's say that Die My Love isn't real, Hedda isn't real, Hamden and After the Hunt aren't as strong as we're expecting.
Right.
Now there's room for a surprise type nomination that gets a few of the precursors. So that's why I have on the outside looking in, where I see the path. I'm just not ready to jump on it until we know that some of these bigger contenders have kind of come and gone.
But have you considered that Sydney Sweeney is not as talented as Ana de Armas?
No, because I think Sydney Sweeney is a very talented actress.
Okay, well, we're just going to agree to disagree on that. I just haven't been impressed by anything I've seen her do. I haven't watched Euphoria, though. I've heard she's really good in Euphoria.
That's my case here. Is outside Euphoria, we haven't really seen her have the opportunities outside of... Now I'm blanking on the name. That horror movie last year. She was really good in that.
Oh, I did not like her Immaculate. No.
Immaculate.
She was solid in reality, but like...
But Euphoria is the big thing going off here. Seeing what she was able to do in that role, and this role will be very different from what she did there. So it's showing, hey, you can really switch up your style, and you're doing it in a biopic, which is more up the Academy's alley.
So the last one that I want to talk about in this category before we move on is Amanda Seyfried and Anne Lee. I'm not thinking this is going to be a thing whatsoever. I hold firm. I believe that this movie is The End. I believe that this movie is Annette. I think it's going to be too weird, and the music is not going to be catchy. It's going to be a little bit off-putting overall. But even if the movie is like that, this is one that I could see her get into Golden Globes comedy musical actress. Amanda Seyfried is such an amazing performer. I just want her to get the Joni Mitchell role. That's all I want. But Anne Lee... I don't think this is the vehicle that a lot of people out there seem to think it is.
I think Amanda Seyfried really fits into that category of actor or actress we have every year that people love and they want to see them succeed. It's just, is this the right role? Is it the right project? I can definitely see the angle where you're coming about where the music won't hit. And we haven't seen Daniel Bloomberg tackle vocal music before.
Well, we have in his band, but still, I don't think they're going to be making like fun musical numbers. Yeah. It's going to be challenging.
And I think that's really the draw here is because, again, I know no one wants to talk about Amelia Perez at this moment, but the reason why that movie succeeded upon its initial release at Cannes was people saying, these songs kind of rock. Like, maybe I don't know what they're saying, but I can groove, I can bop, it's audacious, it's bold. Anne Lee, are these songs going to be crazy? Are they going to be out there? Or are they going to be like The End, where you can say what you want about the technical craft work about The End, but 9 people out of 10 or leaving the end being like, those songs were boring. I can't remember.
9 people out of 10 didn't see the movie.
That's true. So
no one watched that movie.
But like Ann Lee is something where if it does hit, if it comes to Venice and it is this Marvel, it is somehow on to the same level or even better than The Brutalist, then it is a period movie. It has technical nominations to support it. It has a lead acting performance, which Amanda Seyfried is someone we saw with Mank a few years ago where people want to give it to her. It's just we haven't had the option to really give it to her yet. Maybe this is the role, but I kind of agree with you. That's why she's around my 10 mark. But like, I can see it, but the things I have above it, I just have a little bit more faith in.
And the last one I'll mention, and then we'll move on to the next category, is Jodie Foster has a role where she is speaking entirely in French in Rebecca Zlotowski's Vie Privée. So that's a Sony Pictures Classics movie. We didn't mention it last episode, but it's something that I've learned a little bit more about. Apparently there might be time travel involved in this one, and Jodie Foster speaking French. That's enticing.
Just to really wrap up, I know there's a few people out there gunning for like Amy Adams and At the Sea. I just say let's not fall into the Amy Adams trap that we do year after year. And me, I'm going to mention the drama. I think that this is something that if it does hit, it could be an acting player, but it's something that it's kind of wait and see. We just got to report that someone on the crew, kind of, I guess, similar to Hedda, saying like, oh yeah, it's coming December. Now, is that A24 December or is that normal December? And I think that's like the real marker. Is it going to hit a festival before? Because I think if this does hit the festival circuit, you have 2 big name actors. You have Robert Pattinson, you have Zendaya, that could latch one to something. I'm not saying Oscar nomination, but a precursor or two. But it's kind of like a wait and see thing. A24 December does spark some sort of positive, but also has like a backhand, like, oh yeah, no one's going to see you until January, February.
Look, Zendaya's going to get an Oscar nomination at some point. The question is when and for what movie. I don't think this is the one.
Probably not.
But maybe an Indie Spirit nom. So moving over to the Best Actor category, of course, I've got Marty Supreme winning Best Picture, so that means I need to have Timothée Chalamet winning Best Actor here. We're in the era of the sweeps. It was a thing like 20 years ago where a movie would just come in and clean table, and then we kind of learned through the 2010s that sweeps don't happen. Every movie won like 2, 3 awards. You were winning Best Picture, you were only winning a few other things. But for the past few years, it's been, if you're winning Best Picture, you are winning everything else. We had Everything Ever All at Once, absolutely run table, Oppenheimer, Anora, and this year I do think it's going to be Marty Supreme to do that. So at this point, I'm going with picture, director, screenplay, editing, and of course, Timothée Chalamet. Last year, he was number 2 for that award. There was a world where if Adrian Brody was not there, Timothée Chalamet could have won. I feel like this is his time now. This is his moment.
It's so funny, the 180 that we have here, because last year, everything you just said is what I was gunning for Timmy and a complete unknown.
No, and I was saying the entire time, like, I hear you, but next year.
This is the movie that people are setting themselves up to be disappointed with this year. It sounds too good to be true, and I get that it's the same case for Anora or Christopher Nolan getting his time to shine, but, like, the comparisons that we got for this movie so far of Wolf of Wall Street, Catch Me If You Can, are not really huge Oscar winners. While they got nominations, they weren't huge winners. And then it's A24, which A24 kind of does their own thing. Maybe this is their thing. They gave it that huge budget, but also maybe this is just their commercial play like Civil War last year. What I really need to see out of Marty Supreme is I need to see which festivals it goes to. If it's going to Venice, if it's going to Telluride, cool. If it's going to TIFF, maybe not as strong about it.
I mean, TIFF alongside the other ones.
Yeah, TIFF alongside, yes. I was just saying.
The way I see it, this is Venice premiere, plays Telluride, plays TIFF, and it gets one of the big slots at New York. This is going to be everywhere in the fall. And, I mean, if you're doubting this one, what do you think A24 is pushing?
I still believe it's Eddington.
That's crazy.
I think that this Cannes competition slot that will be confirmed by the time this video is out is going to set this film up to do great things this season. And again, it's a trust me thing. Like, I've heard things about it that
swings, you know?
I've heard things about that makes me want to believe in it. It's a filmmaker that has had this build up, and everything you could say against one film, I think, could work against the other film as well. Both of these films are playing more on that comedy satire type thing where they're taking spins on these genres that we know true in form. Marty Supreme, it's coming from a Safdie brother. From what we've seen, this is probably the less crazy Safdie brother between the two. but I'm sure he's still going to have some non-accessible things in here. And then we know Ari Aster, all of his films, so I'm sure Eddington will have some stuff to really drive people away. And I mean, I think there's a world where both can survive and both can live. Currently, I do have Eddington being the one in picture, but I do have Timmy in my 5.
Okay. For me, I think Eddington is under the Silver Lake. I feel like its Cannes competition slot is just a way to be like, this is a crazy film from an interesting filmmaker. I think the movie's going to be really good. I don't see it as an awards thing. But the comparisons to Wolf of Wall Street, the comparisons to Catch Me If You Can, those strengthen my feeling about this movie because, yes, those weren't huge win players. Catch Me If You Can didn't even get a picture nomination back in 2002, but Wolf of Wall Street did. We're in a new era. We've seen we're in a new era. We've got Everything Ever All at Once winning with butt plugs. We saw last year, Anora won. They broke the record for the most fucks in a movie ever. And I think we're in an era where something like Wolf of Wall Street, that sort of over-the-top, excessive, crazy type of filmmaking, that can be a Best Picture winner.
I guess for me, it's not more so doubting the weird factor of it. The reasons I think a lot of people are going out for Marty Supreme, I think, are reasons that are going to lead them down the wrong turn because they're points like, oh, it's Fran Drescher, she's the head of SAG. But like,
Fran Drescher's nothing.
That's
nothing.
Yeah, that's
Gwyneth
that's nothing.
Paltrow, though, she's already doing a press tour. That's another thing that's making me confident about Marty Supreme. We're like 9 months out of this movie releasing. Every week, I'm seeing one of the people giving an interview talking about the movie. Darius Kanji just did like a big interview talking about Marty Supreme.
He did talk
Gwyneth
about
Paltrow. It's true. That is true. But the way that they're building momentum and building buzz for Marty Supreme is really interesting. I know so much about this movie now just from like random shit that cast and crew has said in interviews. The hype machine is already working on this one and we're so far out from it. So to me, it might not win Best Picture at the end of the day. I'm fully braced for that. This might not be the winner, but I do think this could be one of the safer contenders for a nomination, at least.
Yeah, it's one of where I have it just out, but let's say Cannes comes around and Eddington is just
Under the Silver Lake,
or it is just Beau Was Afraid, or it is just Midsummer or whatever, then I'll probably switch around to Marty Supreme. But your number 1 is like my number 3, but your number 2 is my number 1.
Well, I think that there's a really good chance for Jesse Plemons to win for Begonia. He has an insane role. He is playing like a psychotic serial killer kidnapper who is like, I mean,
the mood board here.
Let me just grab my conspiracy board. Doing shit like this. This is a role that is going to be so unhinged. What I want to see Jesse Plemons do in Begonia, I want to see him play his character from Game Night, but like as a killer. That's what I want. And it's going to be so fun to see what he does in this movie. Also, just note, Emma Stone, not a lead actress. She's in supporting role. But Jesse Plemons, I think, has enough to win with this. So he is a very strong number 2, and I could see him be number 1 if Marty Supreme is not as big as I think it is.
And to back you up there, I think one thing that really works for both Timmy and for Jesse Plemons is these are 2 actors who never do the same role again. They're always switching it up. They're always presenting a new layer to their craft and showing why they are some of the best working actors in today's climate. And if these 2 movies end up being strong, I think that we have a great... This is without seeing any of the films or even a clip from the films yet, but just on paper, this would be like a great season in terms of just actors who have proven year after year, performance after performance. They are usually the best things about their movies.
Yeah. You know who we have seen clips of, though? Leonardo DiCaprio, one battle after another. And although my confidence in this movie is waning quite a bit, I really feel like this is going to flop in theaters. It's going to be a huge disaster, and that could really kill a lot of its awards chances. I think even if this drops super far, Leonardo DiCaprio is doing enough to get a nomination here. He is yelling, screaming in that trailer. He just seems to be giving his all to this role, and it feels much closer to his role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than it does to some of the things that he's missed for. I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon, I didn't really like him in that movie on a personal level, but I know I'm much lower on that movie overall. But that wasn't a loud, over-the-top performance. Don't Look Up, I mean, that had its loud moments. But this feels so much similar to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than it does to the films that he's missed for.
He is my 5-6 at the moment. There's him and who your current number 6 is, so I'm kind of teetering between. So after hearing your thoughts on that person, I'll kind of make my final decision who is my 5. But I agree. I think at least from what we've seen in trailers and what we have heard from test screening, which is you always take with a grain of salt.
Of course,
this is a much more Leo-focused film, which Hollywood was, which Don't Look Up was more of an ensemble piece. And the whole narrative behind Kills of the Flower Moon was, hey, Lily Gladstone, hey, Marty Scorsese.
He spent his entire Oscar campaign for Killers of the Flower Moon going, don't award me, it's her.
Yeah.
Give it to her.
I think also with Killers of the Flower Moon is, look at that Best Actor lineup. That was a strong year for a lineup. And yes, you could say Coleman Domingo wasn't in a Best Picture nominee, but he had every single precursor. And I think if DiCaprio is in another season, like if he's in this past season, he probably gets that nomination. If he's in the season before that, he probably gets that nomination for Killers of the Flower Moon. So I think kind of like what we were talking about in lead actress, it really depends on the depth of this season and how strong is this movie, because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a top 3 player. Kills of the Flower Moon was a bottom 3 player. And then, even though it got 10 nominations, that's weird to say, but it was in the contention to win, at least at the nomination period. And then Don't Look Up wasn't top of the top, but it wasn't bottom of the bottom. It was kind of securely that 5-6 type of film.
But I guess that's a reservation for me, because, like, I think that One Battle After Another is really at risk of severely underperforming. I do kind of have this feeling of it's all or nothing. And I won't know whether it's all or nothing until it's box office. It's not even seeing the movie, because I think we can be pretty confident people are going to like this movie.
The question is,
audiences. Will people
the
go see
normies
it?
out there like this movie?
Will people go see it? That's a big question.
The other question is, the people who do go see it, just the Joe Schmoes who see like 5 or 6 movies a year, but they're like, oh my gosh, Leo, I love Leo. And like, what the hell is this? If they trash the movie, then that doesn't spell well for this. I know a lot of people are a lot higher on it, so it's kind of out there. You kind of make your judgment call.
That's the thing. So many people have this as their number 1, and so many people are going to be very disappointed, because I don't think that there's any world where this wins Best Picture. The next one I have in line, Brendan Fraser. This is a bit of a wild card, but we're hearing a lot of strong things about Rental Family. It's a little nerve-wracking to be like, yeah, Rental Family is coming, because we don't know much about the director. Hikari has made one feature before, 37 Seconds. She directed a few episodes of Beef, and now she has this movie that seems like it could be a major above-the-line contender all over the place. People are saying this could be our People's Choice Award winner. We've just heard a lot of positive buzz about this from test screenings. Take it with a grain of salt, but the reports are coming from all over the place. I'm hearing from every direction that Rental Family is fantastic. And when we look at Searchlight's slate, what else they got? I'm riding with this one. I think it's going to be sweet and emotional. It's going to tug on the heartstrings. It's going to be funny. And it could make a play for casting. And it could make a play for SAG Ensemble. This is an enticing contender for me. Brendan Fraser would absolutely come along with it.
For the people who are receiving these words of test screenings, ask yourself, the person who's telling you, what are their thoughts on these movies? What are their taste in film? I am more warming up to the potential of it being, like you said, picture, screenplay, maybe lead, but definitely I think maybe even more so than Fraser, the supporting players.
I completely agree. The supporting players are much bigger for this one. But it's something, even though the word is test screenings, got to take that with a grain of salt, it's interesting.
It is interesting.
And at this point, we have to go towards the interesting players, because, you know...
The next one's super interesting.
The next one, dude, I don't want to have...
I'm happy you have it here, though.
I don't want to have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson
you gotta
in.
have him in.
I don't fucking want to, but, like... Here he is. Here's
the thing about The Rock. Test screenings, flip side, the weirdest movie they've seen. But also think about it. If you're test screening a sports biopic movie, which person you're going to really have there? And it stars The Rock. You're probably going to have people who either love Rock-type movies or also love biopic-type movies.
I heard a lot of people say that he was terrible in it. So, like, why do I have it at my number 5? It's just for lack of believing in the people below it. But at the moment, I guess the argument that I have is, even in like a really weird movie that's polarizing, I go to Ana de Armas in Blonde, a performance that's polarizing in a movie that is largely reviled and disliked, but it's unique and it's doing something different, and that can be enough to get a group of passionate people to push an actor. There's a novelty to this. The novelty is, oh my god, it's Dwayne Johnson being a serious actor. But I feel the same way I did with Ana de Armas in Blonde with this, which is like, I don't want that to happen. I think this is a really...
And I'm glad that you're learning from that, because I remember that season. That was our first year here where I was like, she's happening. You're like, she's not. And she eventually did. And I think the biggest thing with The Rock this year and with the Smashing Machine is, love it or hate it, this movie is going to be in the conversation all year long, because it's going to be a conversation starter. It's going to go to festivals, and it's going to...
And it could upset people.
Exactly, and it's going to have people be like, oh my gosh, The Rock, what is he doing? I'm interested, I'm curious, I'm going to go see it. Even if this movie's awful, I could still see The Rock happening.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he's going to get precursors just because they want him in the fucking room.
Yeah.
That's sort of my case for this, is he's going to build steam whether people like the movie or not.
And there's also the chance that this movie is actually just good.
There is a chance. I could eat my words and be like, this is... I think he's actually fantastic. This movie's great.
There has to be a reason why Martin Scorsese wanted to cast him in his next movie.
Just to toss out some other contenders, I see a real case for George Clooney and Jay Kelly. I've been hearing people saying more and more that Jay Kelly is amazing. I've been hearing rumors that this is Netflix's biggest push. I don't fully believe that still. I'm just so with Frankenstein at the moment. But if Jay Kelly is huge, we could get the whole ensemble in. At the moment, though, I think it's much bigger for the supporting players than it is for George Clooney playing the lead role. Jeremy Allen White playing Bruce Springsteen. But to me, I'm not believing in Jeremy Allen White. Admittedly, I haven't seen The Bear, so I don't really know what he can do. But he doesn't feel like the right casting to play the boss. And it feels like a lot of the predictions that are going on for Jeremy Allen White are people coasting on their love of The Bear. It's the Emmy to Oscar thing that we see all the time, which rarely ever works out outside of Kieran Culkin. And I'm going to fight Jeremy Allen White being a Best Actor contender the same way I fought against Kieran Culkin. Except this time...
I guess that means he wins.
I guess that means he wins. He's got the role for it. I just have not seen anything that makes me feel he can play Springsteen in a way that's going to win awards.
And I guess just throwing out some other names of people who I'm looking at this category, but I don't currently have them in, is Matthew McConaughey for The Rivals of Messiah King. For me, it's still waiting to see with this movie, who picks it up, what else do they have, where else does this go? Because South by Southwest, well, yes, everyone went there and it got raves. A lot of other movies have gone there and got raves, and those raves didn't translate anywhere else. I mean, this is an Oscar movie, Death of a Unicorn, I just saw yesterday. Got raves at South by Southwest. Since then, almost every universal has said this movie's awful. There's Willem Dafoe, late fame. Sammy Burgess writing the script. Dafoe is someone who is always in these awardsy movies, but never really gets his flowers. Don't really know, but it's going to be this one. And then, I mean, I guess I have to mention two films I do have in picture. Joaquin Phoenix for Eddington. If Eddington hits, does Phoenix need to happen? And the person who I do have in, which you can write this off and be like, the movie's not come out this year, but I think if it does come out this year, Will Arnett and Is This Thing On will be a player. Whether it's this year or whether it's next year, I feel like he had a part in writing this role. I feel like this is really going to hit to his strong suits, and it's going to be funny. At least looking this year, it may be one of the few super funny roles that we may have in the conversation outside of like Timmy and potentially Plemons, depending on what's the real tone of Begonia. It's something that I have in currently, but I totally get if you're like, this movie's not coming out this year.
But I also just have a really hard time seeing Will Arnett as an acting contender.
Speaking of having a hard time seeing Will Arnett as an acting contender, let's go to supporting actor, where The Sandman is currently my number one for Jay Kelly, which you asked someone a few years ago, like, Adam Sandler in an Oscar movie? What? No?
Well, but people have been wanting that since like 2002.
Yeah.
With Punch Drunk Love, people were like, get him his Oscar.
My issue with this category this year, and I'm fully admitting I'm kind of defaulting here, and I'm kind of going with a fun pick where I do see a narrative, because this year, I think more so than most years, because like last year, even though the early predictions universally went 0 for 4 in all the acting categories, at least 3 of the 4 people last year that were the universal number ones at this point had a narrative. I just don't see many narratives out there for people, and this is one of the few people I see that has a pretty strong narrative. He has made the rounds in the industry. Clearly, we've seen from award shows, everyone wants to make a point, like they did for Brad Pitt the year he won Hollywood. It's like, Adam Sandler's here, let's talk about Adam Sandler. And if Jay Kelly is real, if Jay Kelly is written for this acting showcase, I mean, Sandler has the narrative, he has the Netflix backing, which they have shown maybe they struggle for picture wins, but they can get those acting wins. He's currently my number one. I don't really believe it's super, super hard. It's kind of like last year when we had Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, did I believe that fully? Not really, but he made the most sense at that point. And again, that's another Netflix movie. It's another narrative-based win. But like, my alternative is Jonathan Bailey in Wicked for Good. I don't want to pick Jonathan Bailey for Wicked for Good.
It's
even if I want to be crazy
that's your number 2. That's insane.
Well, he is my number 2 at this moment.
That's nuts, dude. Like, Adam Sandler at number 1, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I still think that there's going to be some resistance in the Academy to awarding The Sandman. I feel like there's always going to be some resistance. But that said, we've heard a lot of positivity about Adam Sandler in this film. Where that's coming from, dubious, I will say at this point. Like, it could just be very internal PR. My
supporting actor thing, and this will probably be our shortest thing of this whole video because we say year after year, oh my gosh, the supporting categories are usually weak. At least at this point, for me, it just looks full of fake contenders up front because, like, yes, take test screens with a grain of salt, but, like, we've heard from one battle after another. Sean Penn is in the movie for, like, 10 minutes. But
really?
Maybe, like...
I did not hear that.
Okay, I've heard that everyone besides Leo is really, really... small role. Take it with a grain of salt, but that one was reported on by Deadline by Variety. So that one to me is a little bit more stronger than some of the stuff that we're hearing about some of these other movies. But that's why he is my number 6 at this moment, where if one battle after another is super strong, easy. Slide him up in, takes out one of these other people like Jude Law and the Wizard of the Kremlin. Maybe this is too much.
I think that's a lead performance.
From what I've seen, Paul Dano is the lead, and that he's in supporting, but I would easily
I see it like The Favorite, where, like, yes, it's the main character. Or like Emilia Perez last year. You've got the character who is like the POV character, but then you've got the character that the movie's about.
Yeah. So for me, if this movie does come out this year, which it seems like it's a 50-50 sort of thing, I would have Law in regardless of the category, and maybe that's backwards thinking, but currently I would have him in here in supporting. And then I do have, because of the confidence in Die My Love, I do have Pattinson. While I don't really have much details to really talk about these people, because supporting is a lot harder to talk about in depth than lead is, because supporting, you're really going off of, if it's an original movie, kind of just the names. If it's an adapted movie, what their role was in either the book or the story that it's based on. While in lead, they are the center point of the film. There's so much more to really talk about with them. So you can look down my next few in line. Sean Penn, Andrew Garfield, Stephen Graham, Stellan Skarsgård. Those are people that everyone has, and we know a lot more about those roles, but those are also movies I don't feel as strong or as confident about. But maybe I should kind of hedge my bets and throw one or two of them in and take out one or two of the question marks above.
Andrew Garfield's got a really good role. As much as I have my doubts about After the Hunt, Julia Roberts has enough to get nominated. Andrew Garfield has enough to get nominated. I do not think Io Debris has enough to get nominated. Regardless of your doubts, he is a very good actor, and the material is quite juicy. Also, I mean, Jonathan Bailey, number 2. I do have Jonathan Bailey in my top 5, but very low down. I think he's easy to take out. But he has objectively much more to do. He sings a song, As Long As You're Mine, in this. He also has, I don't want to spoil anything, but a transformation of a character.
This is one of the few roles inside of Wicked that we're going to be getting something different, completely different than what we had in the first half. We saw last year that The Love of Wicked did carry over to a Bailey nomination, surprisingly, at SAG. So it shows that at least the actors were responsive to what he did in the first half.
And he does have much more here.
Leads to believe with what more he has to do, and also the extra stuff of what he has to portray. There is at least some opening love for him that can expand going out here this season.
Also, if they are adding in some stuff from The Wizard of Oz, like has been rumored, his role will be even bigger than it was before, like in the stage show. Otherwise, though, I really feel good about Stellan Skarsgård. I mean, this is a veteran actor who it seems like has a category fraud level role. He could even be the lead of the movie. At the moment, I'm feeling like he's supporting, but my gut feeling is just that he is going to have this big career narrative because he's this beloved character actor who's been around since the 90s, who has been really in every acclaimed movie for 30 years, and he's never had a chance to do something that gets him individual love. He's always been part of an ensemble. It seems like he's given a time to shine. That is just too exciting to pass up for me. So he's my clear number 1, with Adam Sandler just close behind. But I can totally see where you're coming from with Robert Pattinson, all of them. I also just want to mention Takehiro Hira for Rental Family is totally worth paying attention to.
He's in my 10.
I think that the Japanese cast of Rental Family is really going to be worth considering as this season goes on.
And especially with it being Searchlight, that ends up being their main push. We've seen Searchlight overperform with nominations for all of their films. I mean, A Complete Unknown, people were doom posting it to like 4 or 5, even leading up to the nomination morning, and it surprised in multiple categories. Poor Things did it as well. You can go year in and year out. Searchlight's top dog always gets extra nominations. So if that's their thing, maybe it's not just supporting screenplay and lead, maybe director comes along too.
Another one that I want to mention that you don't have on your list is Stavros Halkias from Begonia, famous for being a comedian on the podcast Come Town. He plays the sort of sidekick to Jesse Plemons' character, who just sort of innocently goes along with his crazy scheme. It's going to be a very fun role, and I think that he could have enough to do to be in contention. That said, the role that he's kind of coming from Save the Green Planet, is not really meaty enough, is not sort of the center of attention enough to get that awards, but I can totally see it happening.
Yeah, he was someone who I had in my 10 originally, but then to put it in some of those people that maybe aren't in films I'm as confident in, but they should still be in the realm. He's someone who did get bumped down a few pegs. But I could definitely see it if the film is super strong and we see him have an elevation from what there was from the original film, then definitely. And I guess the last person to mention here for supporting actor is the Deliver Me From Nowhere boys. I see a lot of people going out for Jeremy Strong. I guess it makes sense. He's fresh off The Apprentice. People love Jeremy Strong. We saw that clearly last year. The little bit I know about Bruce Springsteen's story, because unlike some of these other musical biopic people we've had in the past few years, Springsteen isn't really my guy. But from what I do know is Springsteen has more to do with his dad than he has to do with his manager. His dad's played by Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham's currently potentially maybe even win an Emmy this year for Adolescent. He's great in that, and I'm assuming he's someone who's kind of great in
Emmy
everything.
to Oscars, though.
It is Emmy to Oscar. I don't have either of them in currently. At least on paper, it makes more sense to go with Stephen Graham based off of the role and the connection of the role in terms of the lead person's life than it would be doing the manager. I know this isn't a one-for-one comparison, but like when Michael was still this year, were you going with Coleman Domingo, who was playing his dad, or were you going with his manager,
with Miles Teller? Yeah, no.
I know it's not a one-for-one. The dad is a much more prevalent in Michael's story than it would be here in Bruce Springsteen's story. I don't think it would be like the Elvis way, where it's like Tom Hanks as the manager is much more relevant. Yeah. But again, I'm not a huge Springsteen fan, so like I might not be the best person to go off of here, but from the little bit I do know, it seems much more dad plays a part, especially in this part of his life.
Last thing before we move to the final category, bringing back my conspiracy board. Preparation for the next life, Fred Heckinger.
Boom,
He could happen. He's playing an Iraq war veteran he's homeless, falls in love with the main character. Could totally happen. It sounds like he's got a good role here. And this is me signing off with the craziness. That's the last I can talk about preparation for a fucking next life.
Last year he should have gotten it for Gladiator too. All hail Dondas, guys. All hail Dondas.
Let's move to our final category. Best Supporting Actress, where I got Ariana Grande winning.
It's the first time we agree this episode.
Ariana fucking Grande. Here's the thing. She came relatively close last year. She does have more in Act 2. No, she doesn't have popular. No, she doesn't have the big sing-song numbers. But she has more of an emotional arc. She has more going on within the inner life of Glinda. She goes from the popular girly girl to sort of like she has responsibilities. She has to take care of everything. And she's sort of being torn apart by a few events that happen in this story. She is really a through line that we get, and she has much more emotional depth this time, and that's what I think gets her a win.
And I think on top of that, the other reason why I have Grande as my winner this time around is the fact that while Wicked Part 1 was really the first introduction to Ariana Grande, the actress, she was really playing what we kind of know Ariana Grande to be. She's funny, she does a singy poppy number, she dances a little bit, and she has some of the best jokes of the movie. But like you just said, This half is where we really get to see her do new things that we haven't seen her act like before, because Victorious and Don't Look Up in the past were more comedy type roles. That's where she really got to excel even further than we've ever seen her do in part one, but for good. We have the drama, we're probably going to have some crying, she's going to get to sing more as well, and even more showcasey type songs for her vocals. This is all under the assumption that Wicked for Good is still going to be a great movie that is received well by the Academy, just like part one. And I mean, we have no reason to doubt that until the movie screens. And I get, you can make the argument like last year, people were down in Joker, and you should have been on board with that too. It's just like...
But we know more about this one than we do about
The big difference,
Joker.
I think, between those is this is adapting stuff that we already know, and it was done at the same time. There's no reason to really believe that the quality drop is going to go from up here. And this may not be for everyone. Everyone may not have loved Wicked at a 10 out of 10. The Academy did, though. 10 nominations. There's no reason to believe it's going to go from here to down here 1 year later with the same exact cast and crew that just made the film that you just loved.
Yeah, at the same time. It's like believing that the Lord of the Rings movies would have performed drastically differently year to year. My second place, if it's not Ariana Grande, I do think, going with my love of Rental Family, Mari Yamamoto is the one that I'm going with here from this category. Now, this feels a little bit like my board for preparation for Next Life, because we don't know anything about Mari Yamamoto's character. We don't know what she's playing in this. She's just one of the listed people on IMDb. It seems like a very small cast right now, but she's one of the people who's in the film. This is a movie that feels like it's going to be very big on the supporting cast. That's going to have a lot for them to do. I don't have a ton to say about Mari Yamamoto. I just think that this movie's going to hit in some way. Maybe it's not her, but I do feel like there will be someone in the supporting cast who really shines in the movie. But right now, I guess she's my placeholder. And then, of course, Gwyneth Paltrow for Marty Supreme. She's already out on the campaign trail, it feels like. She's been doing interviews talking about Marty Supreme, saying a bunch of crazy stuff about Marty Supreme. Her being like, oh, I hated having intimacy coordinators. Welcome back, Mikey Madison.
I mean, it won an Oscar last year.
Exactly. But anyways, we don't know much about her role. We have seen photos of her. She seems to be quite integral in the movie as a whole. Really, it's just like the hype machine is already going, and it's clear that Gwyneth Paltrow is part of that.
Those are two people who I definitely have on my outside looking in, where if the films hit, I definitely would move them up in. It's more so like, how big are those roles? Because again, for Marty Supreme, going back towards the comparisons of like Wolf of Wall Street, Catch Me If You Can, they're much more focused on the central figure, and a lot of, especially the women characters in the movie, aren't very heavily present outside of love and attraction and stuff that comes with that. And for me, while Paltrow is out here campaigning a year in advance, this is also the first time she's been in anything that's not Marvel related for film in like a decade. So I think it's equal as much as awards campaigning as also just saying like, hey guys, I'm back, I'm relevant, look at me.
And to carry the Wolf of Wall Street comparison, she could be Margot Robbie. So after that, the next two that I've got in my top 5, Laura Dern, Emma Stone. Laura Dern, I've been hearing some very positive things about in J. Kelly, but this is another one. We don't know anything about this character outside of hearing from a few test screenings. Like, yeah, she's good.
And that's the thing with J. Kelly, too, and I know this is contradictory for someone who has Adam Sandler at number 1, but, like, it's Baumbach. The last awards movie he had got Laura Dern an Oscar. So,
yes,
of course, like,
there's
if
a
you
bit
like
of bias
Baumbach
that
movies,
I have there,
you're going to like the Laura Dern role in the Baumbach movie, so.
And then Emma Stone, of course, playing the CEO who may or may not be an alien and gets tortured for 2 hours. This is going to be an interesting one because, like, on the surface, I don't actually think she has enough to get an Oscar nomination. I really feel like I'm just putting her in because it's a Yorgos Lanthimos movie and it's Emma Stone.
Here's the thing. Emma Stone has another supporting role this year.
In what?
Oh, Eddington.
No,
Eddington.
fuck off. Fuck off. That's not. No. We're not. No. It would be Begonia. I mean, she shaved her head for this.
I have her for Begonia too, but it's not out of the realm of possibility where if Eddington's real, she is one of the essential cast members.
I could
Emma
eat
Stone.
my words in a month when I see Eddington at Cannes, but like,
I know.
I don't believe
Eddington
it.
at Cannes was almost enough for me to be like, yep, I'm going. But
I'm
yeah, supporting actress this year, it's kind of been a running trend of like what is this category? Because
it really is. We just know less about this category and the roles that they're playing.
Yeah, like
than
year
other
after
ones.
year, it gets more blurrier and more blurrier. For your 5, the ones I would add in here is Nina Hoss for Hedda. I still do have Hedda in my Best Picture predictions, and maybe this is just another Tar role where she's good, she gets a precursor or two, and it doesn't happen at the end of the day.
If I still believed in Hedda, I would have her in here, but instead, I am going down the drain of conspiracies to preparation for Next Life. So Hedda is nothing for me. The interesting thing, Nina Hoss is playing a role that is gender swapped. In the 1975 movie that got the lead actress an Oscar nomination, Patrick Stewart played the role that Nina Hoss is playing in this one.
And then, in addition, I had Emily Blunt for The Smashing Machine, where I think that if this movie does catch on, if The Rock is that strong, acting-wise, we've seen them be receptive to Emily Blunt. Yes, she on for Oppenheimer, but like, is this the Afterglow type nomination? For me, it's just more so looking at the next in line. Like, do I want to put in Sissy Spacek for Die My Love? I can't go too overboard for the movie, so she's on my outside looking in. And then I guess I would say the craziest thing I have in this category is I have J-Lo in for Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Well, but I don't see that out of the realm of possibility, especially now that Michael has been punted to the next year, because now that money that they spent on Kiss of the Spider Woman makes a little bit more sense. They don't have a big awards movie. Is it going to be a big awards movie? No. We've seen the reviews. We know it's not going to be huge, but J-Lo can happen, and one thing we didn't mention is Tonatia could happen in Best Lead Actor.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing with Kiss of the Spider Woman will be when it hits Morefest, will that score go up? Because it started so high, and then as the festival went on and on, it dropped and dropped and dropped. Will it be like The Apprentice, where The Apprentice last year came out the gate with a really bad score, and then the more it screened to people, by the time it eventually came out in wide release, that score went to the positive and went to green, and maybe the same thing can happen for Kiss of the Spider Woman this year.
I also want to mention Inga Ibsdottir Lilias from Sentimental Value. She's playing Renata Reinsva's sister in the film, and if this movie is as big as I hope it is, expect it to be, that could be a really meaty role. There's also Angelina Lookingglass, who we've heard is phenomenal in The Rivals of Amziah King, but that said, we have our reservations with that movie, because of course, like, why has not one person bought this movie?
I know, the biggest concern for me with this movie is the fact that no one has yet, and the fact that Lionsgate went with Kiss of the Spider Woman. Where I'm assuming Lionsgate at that point knew Michael's cooked, we need something. Rivals got good reactions. It played at a fest. You have people here that you can get a nomination, but I guess they saw more for Kiss of the Spider Woman. And I think the biggest thing will be is I'm assuming this film is going to go unsold until the end of Cannes. And once Cannes happens, distributors will know, okay, we know what the Cannes selection is. Do we dip to something from before, and it could be a Sundance movie instead of just Amziah King? Or are we going with something from Cannes?
In the week and a half since we last recorded, Amziah King still has not sold. There has been one sale that's happened, though, but it was Twinless from Sundance. It was not The Rivals of Amziah King. So we're sitting here just wondering, what the hell's happening with this movie?
Because at least on paper from the reactions, again, South by Southwest, but like McConaughey, Lookingglass, screenplay, song, score. That's a little bit of a package right there.
The thing that I go back to, which is, what's the last time that a serious Oscar contender that ended up in the conversation at the end of the day went this long without being sold? It was The Apprentice. But that had the big legal threat around it.
And was it even this long? I feel like...
it was longer than this. It was longer than this, but it was because there was threats of being sued. And I know from the grapevine, I had friends who spoke to the Apprentice producers at Cannes. They were talking to the big studios there, but the studios got scared about being sued.
Imagine Apprentice with like Searchlight. How many more nominations?
They were talking to Netflix, they were talking to Searchlight, and all of them got spooked by the threat of legal action. That was the big asterisk that's beside that movie. But when's the last time that a movie that ended up being a big contender took this long? It doesn't happen. But I mean, Chuck could prove that wrong. This could prove that wrong, but at the moment we have no precedent for it. Let's just briefly talk about Iowa Debris. Not happening. It is such a small role. She has quite a bit to do in the first 20 minutes of the movie, or at least in the script that I had read. First 20 pages, she's in it quite a bit, and then she disappears for most of the movie, has one or two scenes later in the film where she pops up, but she is not the crux of this movie. She's not the core. And from the description, it sounds like she has a ton to do. She really doesn't. Her character is important, she's spoken about, but she is not in the movie much, because at a certain point, she basically tells everyone to leave her the fuck alone. And so after that, she's not in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the interesting thing this year is obviously we had the Succession Boys happen last year. So now it's time to make the Bear duo happen, and it's just, will the Bear duo happen, or will it just be one, or will it be neither, which we currently both having neither.
But otherwise, I mean, who knows? Maybe one of the women from Wake Up Dead Man could happen, Glenn Close or Kaylee Spaney, but
I mean,
who knows?
Janelle Monáe couldn't happen. That
I know,
year was so weak.
It just feels like we're always going to have one person from a Knives Out movie at least hovering around the conversation.
I think the thing that will eventually get one of them in the hump, and who knows if there's more Knives Out movies after this one, is the Best Picture nomination. When that happens, I think the reason why the Best Picture nomination will happen is because of an acting performance.
But I think that brings us to the end of this acting video. And, I mean, hopefully you took something away from it. I mean, I didn't make this whole absurd fucking board for nothing.
Yeah, and I guess let us know down below what your current predictions are. Obviously, you'll be watching this after the Cannes announcement, so you'll have a little bit more extra information than we have now. So let us know, what are our outlandish, dumb takes so far? What are ones that you're like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that, but now I am. And like you did on our Best Picture episode, let us know yours down below, because sometimes you may say something that really influences us to going forward with our predicting.
Join me on the Preparation for a Next Life train. And of course, as always, my name's Matt.
My name's Dyl, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.